Near the end of October 2021, Crunchyroll released the original series called High Guardian Spice. The first season consists of 12 episodes, and oh boy, there are so many one-star reviews on it. And taking the dislike count on both trailers into consideration, along with the announcement reception being hidden, it seems many people were unhappy. This will likely be controversial, but I actually anticipated and enjoyed the show. Having said that, it has flaws, although I believe it can be fixed. Thus, like I did with Sonic Forces 3 years ago, I got the idea of making a video about addressing the problems and coming up with solutions which will hopefully satisfy everyone. Whether you're a warrior, sorcerer, or whatever, have your weapons ready, for protection is vital. Hey, I'm Owen, the Fiction Fanboy, and here are my thoughts on how to make High Guardian Spice great. As far as the story goes, it starts with besties Rosemary and Sage going off to Lingarth so they can attend High Guardian Academy, and we learn of Rosemary's fear of her mother's disappearance and her treasured locket, along with brief introductions for Parsley and Time. Once they're all at school, they have to survive Disorientation Day with making their vows as the main goal. Then we get an episode where Neppycat transformed into a big and talkative version of himself that informs us of the rot. Next is 3 of the 4 main characters having family issues on their break off. Sage getting a Terror Sphere for learning new magic gets her worried about how her mother would react, Parsley being asked to stay home to take care of her younger siblings, and Time was avoiding her mother. Following that is Time upsetting Sage, an obstacle course plot, a cave mission, a 2-part tale of the Fall Festival, which had tested Rose's and Sage's friendship, and there was a statue catastrophe, Rose and Amaryllis losing their friends and wanting them back, a tragic sea quest, and the big finale, including their own twist. Bet you're wondering what adjustments need to be made here. Most viewers saw the pilot as filler, and while I don't say they're entirely wrong, I did see some important things in it, aside from the heroes. The travel to Lingarth could have been shortened a bit, same for the market travel and Trixie ritual, and maybe have Rose and Sage start school and meet Parsley and Time sooner. There's a mix of lighthearted and deep content, but more on that later. One series that this all feels similar to is Ruby. 4 girls learning how to be fierce fighters so they can face evil. Not to mention, magic has caused comparisons to Little Witch Academia. Perhaps if there was some more originality, this show wouldn't get so much hatred. While I understand why Festival of Fall was a 2-parter, I believe the finale needed to have that treatment too. I also see more than a fair share of the characters could use some improving. Speaking of which, the chosen ones here are Rosemary, the pink-haired leader who wants to be a guardian soon and mourns the loss of her mother, Sage, the blue-haired witch used to old magic and must adapt to the new kind, so she becomes the hard worker she strives to be, Parsley, the dwarf who is so talented she takes care of the many young boys in her family and advanced to the 3rd year of blacksmith class. Then there's Time, the skilled elf archer determined to save her home and everyone in it. Can't forget supporting characters like Amaryllis the meanie. Snapdragon may be her only ally, though there's more to him that meets the eye as the show progresses. Parnell and Slimeboy, presumably the youngest classmates so far. Professors Caraway, Hakone, Redbun, and Dretch. Not to mention, the few villains we see are Smokeface, Olivia the fiendish literal and figurative kitty, and Mandrake, the sinister shapeshifter, who all work for the Triumvirate. There's also Anise and L.O., part of Sage's family, and Lavender, Rose's mom, who Rose may have to fight, explaining my shock and horror of the twist. Now, as much as I adore LGBTQ rep and female leads, making male characters bad, even without the kill all men shtick, ain't the way to go about it. Time is alright, though needs more motivation. Same can be said about Parsley. Rosemary is a tad on the reckless side, and despite Sage being my favorite of them all, The one thing I'd change is her saying guys don't discuss feelings. I'm a guy and I'd gladly share my feelings. Caraway being transgender sounds cool, and so is Snap possibly getting that trait, yet I wish there was more of this rep. Hey, whereas Sage was asked about having romantic feelings for Rose, she denied it, although A, she blushed, B, Rose slept with her on the same bed twice, and no ordinary pair of besties sleep on the same mattress. C, Sage would honor her cousin and aunt, and D, they care for one another. Give us loads of reasons to root for all these characters. Looking at the official Crunchyroll website, there is no rating for the series, and IMDb doesn't classify what kind of show it is either. However, before each episode begins, we are greeted with this warning screen stating that the program has strong language, violence, and sexual content that probably isn't suitable for some audiences and can't be shown to kids. The thing is, the first 2 episodes had none of that. Keywords, first 2. Upon viewing the episodes that followed, we see blood and hear some curse words. If I was in charge of the TV parental guidelines and stopped after the first 2 episodes, I would have made the show TVY7, yet TV PG with the 2 episodes after that, but merely 2 minutes in for the 5th episode, I'd have to rate it TV 14. Something else to take notes of is both the opening and closing theme songs sound like they fit the kids show vibe. I appreciate them, yet they feel out of place once you know what's on the inside. Nothing wrong with having stuff for all ages, but this is a time to find a demographic and stick with it. One thing was for sure is that the series was made to please the LGBTQ community, even though not everyone there liked it. A simple, pick a lane show won't do it. Should the series be for children, remove the swearing and keep blood at a minimum. Then again, like most anime, they're for grown-ups, so if that's the case, have at least one vulgar word come from someone's mouth, and make the sequences and songs edgier. Regardless if the lyrics and mood of the singers have a dramatic tone, or the characters fight with scars on their faces, you just can't have cupcakes and rainbows one moment and the next moment be monsters and gore. No matter the kind of people you're trying to entertain, it must be crystal clear and have a rating ready to let us know. Normally, voice acting is a redeeming quality of even the most panned media in existence. Alas, some folks cannot say that for this series. I personally don't hate the performances. Let's just say I've seen better. A majority of the characters, especially Slime Boy, sound a wee bit unnatural, as if the voice actors are recording in a booth they aren't comfortable spending time in. Or perhaps they weren't in places they usually do voiceovers in, since we're currently in a pandemic and the crewmates of pop culture have to do work from home. And this may have just been me, though there were instances of characters saying sad things while smiling or happy things while frowning. That might be a mistake on the animators, but don't you fret, I'll get to it soon. Still, during Rosemary and Sage's first time meeting Time, their insults made very little sense, and Time knows that as well. If only she could tell that to the script writers. In addition, there were 2 scenes about transition magic, hence Caraway being transgender. A problem here is Rosemary saying she doesn't know what it means, further justifying the point of needing to decide who the show is for, as only a child would ask such a question. Also, remember my only complaint about Sage? Well, the episode was full of stereotypical lines, mainly from Aster. Again, just because girl power is your objective doesn't mean the boys have to be evil, bad, or flat out unlikable. Furthermore, on this being a kid's show versus one for grown-ups, as much as I wanted Rosemary and Sage to reconcile, the way it was done was clearly cliched. To sum this up, the voice actors need more confidence along with being in a suitable area, and whomever wrote the script must make it sound like it's for the right people, and we have to understand it so nothing sounds awkward. At last, I had to make the final portion of this video be about the style of the series. The number one reason people despise the series is that it looks barely like an anime that was made by an anime streaming company. I know it's obvious already, but just for the sake of it, here are some side-by-side comparisons to real anime shows, and let's do the same for anime-influenced cartoons as a bonus. I will say there are a fair share of anime gags, though it's not enough to call this series nothing more than a cartoon. Moreover, there are some animation errors, like one of Parsley's brothers has lazily made eyes, infinite cookies, Sage's fingers phasing through a book, and a student at Caraway's class enlarged and phased through him. Another gripe worth mentioning is the first episode having a PNG image of bread photoshopped into the series, and the same thing goes for that lamp, making them look conspicuous. Let's get the most obvious thing out of the way. Either the animation should have been made by people from Japan, or the series should have been developed by another company and put on a different streaming service, preferably HBO Max. Heck, the creator made a 2-minute short entitled Treasure Hunt, where Rosemary made her debut, and having a series based on that with her friends in the artistic style would be interesting. The animation errors are the most forgiving of the bunch, since even the best of animated media can't escape those sometimes. Nevertheless, it shouldn't be an occurring detail, and copying and pasting a pair of eyes from one brother to another would have been more tolerable than simple black ovals. Lastly, no photoshopping images, and actually put effort into designing the stuff. I tried making the bread and lamp less ridiculous by outlining them, though you knew what I was going for, correct? Figure out what kind of animated program it's striving to be, make it live up to its label, and be sure the style is completely consistent. Overall, I got to say I'm fine with the show for what it is, even if it ain't what everyone else thought it would be. I like it, yet I wanted to love it. You can loathe it, but don't say it's terrible until you've watched the whole thing, and don't unsub to Crunchyroll because of this series alone. A huge part of me wants a second season of this series so the cliffhanger gets resolved, and I want Rosemage to be official. Believing that it took many years to create and release the series is questionable, though it still gives me hope things will turn out right in the future. I'm giving the show a B. Please don't at me. Be that as it may, it looks like I should check out Little Witch Academia, give or take the fact it's generally for kids. There's plenty more where this came from. Please like, subscribe, share, and turn on notifications so you can receive them offerings. Be sure you also comment below and follow me on Instagram for perky teasers and thumbnail previews of forthcoming YouTube videos. Farewell, folks, and have a holly jolly nighto!